What's up, everybody? This is another episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. Today, we have a phenomenal guest by the name of Lance Bennett. We'll be talking about all things entrepreneurship. We'll be talking about all things growth. We'll be talking about all things people and journeys and all of the things that make up this phenomenal life that we call the life of an entrepreneur. So, listen, buckle up, share this with your friends, and let's have a great conversation. Let's learn some things. Let's grow in this episode of the life of an entrepreneur. All right, let's get into it. All right, here we are. Here we are. We're back for another episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. I am your host, Oliver Marcel. I'm an author, speaker, and coach in the relationship building and men's empowerment spaces, helping individuals to do what's on my t shirt. 2020 before hindsight. There's so many things that I learned in hindsight. And so it is my goal to share something with at least one person that will give them some level of clarity on the front end before they do something, say something, become something that will throw off the trajectory of their lives. That's me, Oliver Marcel. I'm glad to be here as your host. And listen, this is the show where we talk about all things entrepreneurship. We have phenomenal guests. If you haven't seen the other episodes, you need to go back and check the other episodes. Last week was just me by myself. I talked about 10 things that every entrepreneur should be doing. Make sure you check that out. Listen, we already got some folks in the comments. So if you're here and you're watching right now, please share this with someone who needs to be a part of this. We got Dave Hunt in the comments. Dave, how are you? How are you, my friend? I appreciate you. Thank you. Dave said fire. David Hunt said fire intro. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And yes, and he added some more. He added more titles to me. Yes, the composer, producer. Yes, the videos that you see me do from time to time, typically the music that you see in my intros and all of those kinds of things around the interwebs is me as well. So thank you for that shout out from one musician to another great musician, which is Mr. David Hunt. So listen, if you're here, share this with someone. I'm not going to talk very long because I want to get our guest in. We got a great guy. His name is Lance Bennett. I'm not even going to I'm not even going to attempt to touch what this guy does because if you look him up on LinkedIn, which I suggest that you do and connect with him, this guy does some great stuff. And we're going to hear his story in just a moment. But I just want to share something. I was I was reading this book. Some friends of mine, Robert and Kay Lee Fakui, wrote a book called Tandem. And it's essentially a book that is for entrepreneurs that are also married. So this is husband and wife that are working together. But in the book, they talked about something that I tend to grapple with, and that is uh, the cost of your services. The cost of your services. Gunther, good to see you. Gunther said, I made it today. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Share this with a friend as well. Gunther, great guy. He will be on the show at some point as well. So look out for that. You'll see that name again. I was talking about pricing, right? And in their book, they're talking about and I have the book right in front of me. Why do businesses charge so little? And one of the number one thing that they said as a reason why businesses charge too little is fear. So I just want to talk real briefly about fear. It's easy in this life of an entrepreneur to succumb to fear. We talk about mindset things. We talk about things that we should be doing to stay positive, to have a positive mindset. I even talked about those last week. But let's just keep it real for a second. Often, fear does creep in there. and we're like, I don't know if this is going to work. You know what? I won't speak for anybody else. I'll speak for myself. There are programs that my wife and I stand up at different times, and we're like, we hope that individuals are going to come, or we hope that people are going to buy this product, or I hope that folk are going to grab this t-shirt, or whatever it is, right? And sometimes fear creeps in there. And what I want to share with you today is that you cannot let fear cripple you from moving forward. Do not let fear cripple you from moving forward. Because here's the thing, there's always going to be some what ifs. And if we continue to live our life by the what ifs, the negative what ifs, it's going to be tough for us to move forward in life. So we can live by what ifs, but what if everybody shows up? What if all the t-shirts sell out? What if everybody gets the course? So I just want you to bear that in mind. Listen, fear is often something that creeps in. I've heard people say it's what is it? False evidence appearing real. I've heard people use that acronym for fear. And so we don't want to let false evidence appear real in our journey, this journey of entrepreneurship. So just wanted to leave you with that. And with that, listen, no more talking from me. We got to hear from this great guy. We're going to bring on Lance Bennett. Lance Bennett is going to share his story with us. Again, if you are here, let us know you're here. Tom is here. Tom is in the house. Fear is exactly how I felt when I decided to massively increase my prices. And I am considering raising them again since being told I am still too low for the product that I offer. I love that, bro. I love it. I love it. I love it. And that's what they were saying in the book. They gave some other reasons why we don't price the way that we should. However, that is one of them. And I'm glad that you did that. Season is in the house. Season, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Now, with no further ado, we're going to bring on Mr. Lance Bennett. Mr. Lance Bennett, how are you? Thank you for being here, my friend.
Man, I am doing outstanding, Oliver. I'm doing outstanding, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show, man. It's like I've been watching you, following you, man. You have some great guests. They offer some amazing value. A lot of people don't understand. I'm as an educator, just it's important to always be learning. Always be learning, finding new ways to do things, and sometimes you find it in the most, shall we say, the most unexpected places. It's different people.
Yes, so you're right. You are absolutely right. And before we get into it, it's interesting you would say that, right? Because I can attest to that, right? So the group that is behind this video cast, if you will, is a business fellowship called Love Entrepreneurs. And Love Entrepreneurs is specifically designed as a business fellowship that helps ordinary people build extraordinary businesses. And you're talking about learning. There's an immense amount of learning that has taken place since I have found myself as a part of this business fellowship, meeting individuals like yourself and all of the others that are in this fellowship, man. So thank you for saying that. And we should be always learning. We most certainly should be always learning. Listen, before we get into the conversation, let us know who Lance Bennett is. Tell us who you are. In the description, it merely said the founder of your consulting business, but there is a whole lot more to Mr. Bennett.
I'm working on a bio, but the bio turns out to be a book.
Hey, that's all right. That means you're doing great things, man.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. So here's I guess to sum it all up, man. I was born in El Paso, Texas, but my first birthday was actually in the country of Belgium. My dad was in the military, so wow. Funny, actually, true story. It was funny and it was tragic, but turned out funny. Well, it was my mom was in the process of having me, and they didn't know if we were going to make it. So they were saying at one point they could, my dad would have had to choose between, and somehow God allowed me to still come forth, and thank the Lord for all the, his blessings for that. But I didn't actually cry, which was funny. My mom, I was actually talking which was weird. It was like, hey, yeah, right. And so that's what my mom has always told. It's been a funny story. So I do talk a good bit. So that's one thing about me. But living in Belgium, I had a chance to just be cultured. You know what I'm saying? Listen to different music, be around the world. I mean, I went to an international high school as well. I was homeschooled. So here's the crazy thing about me. I was homeschooled, private schooled, and public school, or into saying like government, is the public school for the gods. So I was actually in like military. So I actually had two diplomas when I graduated high school, which was crazy. So I went to so we had the American section, which is where we played football, and of course we did have back-to-back championships. You know what I'm saying? Just had just put that out there too.
Just had to
But
put it
play
out there.
football, hey, just throwing it out there. Shout out to like Romeo Tisdale. Some of my running backs that we had a chance to block for and get ready for. You know what I'm saying? So just it was fun, man, playing sports. So I had also had a chance to be a part of a church. So one thing is always putting things first. In my family, faith has been first. So it wasn't nothing for me to run off the field halfway through practice on Wednesday and be like, I gotta go, guys. They're like, where are you going? I said, I gotta go to church. Sorry, you know what I'm saying? I'll be there for the game. And that cost me a couple of starts. It cost me almost half a season of starts because they thought I wasn't putting in for the team. But eventually, before every game, we would do the Lord's Prayer, and then eventually they were just like, you know what? Coach was like, Hans, the only one who actually looks like he's going to church doing something. Lance, you do the Lord's Prayer. And, I was able to lead the team in Lord's Prayer every game, for the next, year. And so that was something I was even more proud of, other than, being able to win. I mean, we didn't have hardly the few injuries we had. Like, it was like they could have been worse. So it was like God just really protected us. So I always knew to keep faith first. But during that time, I was also in school and working. My parents made us work. So before we were able to work for money, they had this program in Europe called the volunteer program, youth volunteer program. So you would volunteer in different areas of the base. So I started off, my sister got youth volunteer of the year. I mean, now if I talked about my sister, we'd have a whole nother show. She's just amazing. She does everything she touches turns to platinum. She's awesome. And she's been like a great support base. So is my family. But I was able to work my way through the hospital. So I started off in records, and because I have, I recently diagnosed with ADHD, didn't know I had it back then, but I was like, and did all their records. Literally would take usually most of the other volunteers a whole summer to do it. I did it in a couple of weeks. And I was like, all right, what else you got? And so they were like, send them to radiology. I was like, cool. I've always wanted to learn how to do that. So I went in there, and actually, I was almost like a little mini Doogie House. I was able to work my way, excuse me for that, work my way through the clinic. So I went from radiology to optometry. Then I went to the area where they do the hearing test. I learned that area there. And then we also sent me to maintenance. And for maintenance, they actually were like, what's left? And they're like, well, the only place we haven't put them up is in the maternity ward where the well babies area. So when they come check them, when they have to get shots. And since I'm goofy and I'm a character and I can do impressions, I was the comic relief, and the babies would just be all laughing, and so they would be able to give the immunizations faster. I mean, so learning how to do that, I got youth volunteer of the year as well doing that. So that just gave me an ethic of working in different areas, how people work in different areas of the hospital. So I mean, I could have honestly, if I wanted to, probably go into that area, but I mean, I was like, it was fun, but there's more out there. So. And then I went to work at the commissary, and I was actually started pushing carts. That was the thing. I pushed carts on the Saturday. That's why I literally, every time I go see a cart person, I shake their hand, try and probably sometimes give them a dog. It's the ones that ain't walking behind it, holding their cell phone with the button, with the thing that drags it for you. I used to have to put a rope on the top cart, and I would put them on, and I could push, 2, 3, 4, like sometimes like 2, 3 stacks of 20, 30 carts and push them. I pushed carts side by side, 2 stacks of 20. And they're like, you shouldn't be doing that. But that's how I was, I was like, I'm practicing football in my mind. If I can push these carts, can't nobody get in front of me, push me. So I'm always thinking, that's my mindset. How do I incorporate what I'm doing in my job, at my sport, in my, school, and something else? I have to be focused at that. So growing up, I did that. Then I went from there, worked as a bagger. From a bagger, I went to a stocker. From a stocker, I went to I was managing the bakery and deli at 16 and a half, 17. I was managing it. In fact, it was a German company that actually, once their contract was up, they were actually going to just leave. And the lady that trained me, her name is Sherry Chadwick. She is amazing. And she fired me because of timeliness. I didn't show up. And then she hired me back because she was like, I'm teaching you less. She fired me. And she was one of my mom's best friends. And she fired me quick. And then she hired me back and said, "No, you can do it again." But she taught me, how to the importance of being on time and having to start things at a certain time. You got to proof those pretzels. You got to get that bread ready. They were going to bring a Subway to our base. We put them out of business. So I actually found out the guy that I was training with. His name is Thomas Burkett. Great guy. He actually works now at DECA headquarters, which is where all the people do it. He's like, you know what I found out? He said, Lance, the way we did it is now the baseline for how all commissaries do it. And they haven't changed it since that point, because the commissary actually decided, since that contract left, the German contract left, we decided they wanted to just start their own, and they would implement it from the system that Mrs. Sherry taught me, and I implemented with Thomas, and then he worked his way up to all the way to DECA headquarters. So it's just amazing. I've just found that out 2 years ago. He's like, dude, I can show you the paperwork. So I'm like, my name is on a process that is now used worldwide in basis, and then awesome. Come to find out, there's a lot of cool things that I found. Like, I fixed a process in Amazon one time for a capacity issue. Everything was capacity. They have these things where you can tell where things are and where things aren't, so they can try to tell people who need to stow things away where the most space is. I was like, but they have damaged, bins too. And I'm like, but these things fill up, and, why don't they allow, these things have a capacity too, right? They were like, yeah. I said, use the same program on those, so you're not sending these people on wild goose chases looking for damaged freight. You send them to where the things are. They're like, we never thought of that. I said, well, why not? It's there. So I came in as a temp, worked my way up from a temp all the way to, like, it's literally a 6 month. Everybody was telling me around. They're like, dude, I've been here for 4 years doing the same thing, Judge. You're never going to do it. I'm like, well, why not? So I went from a temp service to they wanting to hire me. Everybody was thinking, they're like, hey, dude, are you like a manager? I'm like, no, I'm a temp. They're like, why are you here? Why hasn't Amazon hired you full time? I said, because I had to go to the temp service. They hired me full time. In less than a year, I was hired to the next manager. I was the benchmark compliance, assistant for the entire, system in the learning department, which I thought was awesome. Because then I got to walk around and quiz people and say, oh, you don't know this? I'll show you little hacks. And then see everybody's performance increase. I'm like, dude, why? Don't put your stuff down and go all the way a half a mile to the bathroom. I said, do your work to the bathroom so that you're like, go to the bathroom and come out, so you don't have time off task. Time off task is wasted steps. You're spending time not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So graduating through that. I mean, by the way, I'm doing that while I'm actually at this. I have 3 jobs at the same time. So this is another thing about me. I'm also the manager of the founding store of Eddie's Calzone in Columbia, South Carolina, while I'm also a DSP, a direct support professional for people with disabilities. I go to their homes and I work for a section of hours. I usually find the hours where they need to cook, because the guys, some of the other people are just giving them, microwave foods and stuff like that, easy stuff. I was like, man, my mom taught me how to cook, man. We gonna cook y'all up something nice. Made them a nice peach cobbler from time to time, because instead of that, processed sugar stuff, I make them nice stuff. Make sure they, would follow rules. They would love to go out and hang out with me. They still call me to this day, and that's the kind of thing that I've been doing. So going back to that, the only reason I left Amazon, right, it was to come back and to be a principal of a school, which is where we are today. And as a principal, I said, look, and I told him, I said, man, the only reason I'm leaving is because I could be up there with y'all at, where y'all at. I mean, I'm giving my reports to the GM of the entire store, but I was stowing stuff half a year ago, and everybody was looking at me walking around with a laptop now instead of a cart and a scanner. And I said, you get what you want, and you get what you ask for from the Lord, and you put in the work, and you always ask what's next. I was cross-trained in like the entire process, from inbound, outbound, everywhere. I've done it all. And that's why I did it, because I said, if you're not going to promote me, then I'm going to take everything from you. I'm going to take every piece of your process, and I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to fix it. And that was one of the things I went to the learning department. How can we, and I had 2 or 3 processes that are, I don't talk about it too much, but that I've actually fixed for the warehouse. And we have one of the few training stores that still have humans in them, where it's not a bunch of robots scrumming around grabbing stuff. So that's another thing that I'm not bragging. I'm just saying these are the opportunities I've been given, and I just take them because I had to do them. I had to do them, and so when I have to do something, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. Like, I had to save money on my car, so I learned how to fix cars. I had to save money on things that broken, so I learned how to fix them. I went and I got trained by professionals, and that's why my network is actually so huge. That's what made me a consultant. is because I tell people I have centuries of experience in my network, centuries, because the people I work with have been doing this for a long life, and this is why I have such an opportunity to, and we all should be part of this. And that's why I love entrepreneurs. And like I said, I could talk, man, I could talk, but I
No,
just love that you
I'm
just told
letting
me that.
you.
But let me let you.
No, I listen. I'm letting you. There's a reason why, for those of you who are watching, why you didn't see too much about him in the description, because the description would have been, you'd still be reading it right now if I had put everything in there, right? But what I love about what you're saying right now, I'm hearing a few themes in what you're saying, right? I'm hearing the theme of being persistent. I'm hearing the theme of constant learning. I'm hearing the theme of perseverance. I'm hearing the theme of initiative, and all of these themes are themes that are paramount to the success of everyone. We're talking about entrepreneurs right now, but to everyone, anybody who wants to elevate in one way or another is going to have to be persistent, is going to have to consistently learn, is going to have some level of perseverance, is going to have all of these things that you are exhibiting in your story that you've told, taking initiative, doing things. Not, you talked about something, a process that would normally take several months, that you did in several weeks, right? That is something that we should be aspiring to as it relates to how we travel this journey in entrepreneurship, and how we travel this journey in life, right? Season said it's all figure outable, right? It's all figure outable,
Yeah,
and
I
so
like
we
that.
keep going.
I'm gonna borrow that word.
Yeah. That's a good one. And so I love that, man. And you said that all of those things, right, led you to teaching, led you
Yeah,
to the consulting space,
yeah,
and now you have this wide network of individuals. And another thing that I did not say, what I heard, is legacy.
yeah,
It is so important in this journey that we're often, what happens, right, when we come into this journey, and rightly so. I'm not knocking anybody for this. When we get into this journey, we're thinking about how we can elevate. And of course you should be. And nobody wants to get into business to not elevate. Nobody wants to get into business
yeah,
to not learn or not grow and scale. However, you began to do some things that actually allowed you to leave something of value behind you. So you weren't just burning up ground to get to where you were. You're
yes, sir.
actually leaving something behind you that could be stood up, and in many cases to this very day is still stood up.
Yes, sir.
So as we're growing, and as we're going through this life, this journey of life, and especially in entrepreneurship, be intentional. For those of you who are listening, be intentional about creating legacy. It's not just about you getting to 6 or 7 or 8 figures or wherever your goal is. Are you going to burn up everything behind you in order to do that? Or are you going to leave some monuments behind you to the art of learning, to the concept of innovation? Are you going to leave some things behind you? So, man, I love that, man. And I hope that those of you who are listening to the story were pulling out those gems, because there was a lot of them. Although Lance was telling his story, there was a lot of gems being dropped in terms of how we should be operating as people, not just business people, but as people in general, how we should be operating, man. So I love that. So now we're in the consulting space. We're in the teaching space.
Okay.
We're in the consulting space.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about um, standing that up, and what's your vision behind the space that you find yourself in right now?
Well, honestly, the vision behind what the space I'm in right now was actually, I think, COVID kind of showed everybody what you have to do now. Sometimes I just have this saying. It's like sometimes you do what you have to do until you get to do what you want to do.
Mhm.
All right. I tell my students all the time, just because you don't want to do it doesn't mean you shouldn't know how to do it. Like, just because it's not complimentary doesn't mean, you shouldn't be capable. Like, you should be able to do it. Like, nobody likes to take the trash out. Nobody is like, I just can't wait to, no, this is fake, but you got to know how to do it. Nobody likes washing dishes, but they need to be clean. I'm uh, I confess there's sometimes where I'm more consistent at work or at other things that I am sometimes at home. I need to be more kind of both, because sometimes it's like if I'm always this way here and I'm always this way there, then I don't get a chance to change around sometimes. And sometimes I'll tell people that sometimes a mess is sometimes where you can find yourself being a master in some things, because you can see, all right, why things are, because once you clean it up, you find things that you never thought you could find. You also you see things better. So I mean, that's why I like the processes. I love process engineering. I love it naturally. So I'm actually with my students, I try to teach them. We just had a couple of a graduate student. I teach them. We don't teach them subjects. We teach them how to learn. We teach them what the system is to learn this. If you want to learn this, there's many ways to do it. Let's try them all and see which one fits. And then so we don't have their students. I'm actually at one of the students' desks now. It's an office. Like, I'm touching both walls of it. I can be in my office and enjoy my space. I can decorate my office how I would choose to. Some offices in the other rooms will have computers there, because we allow them to do things on the computer. But if you can't do them with your hand first, if you can't use the computer God gave you first, then you can't use any of these tools. Because all of these tools were created or they're made with somebody using this. Your brain has a built-in scanner. If you know how to do it, so just because you can't remember it doesn't mean you should know how to reference it or recall it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So eventually you're going to find those. And we come to them and we don't tell them the answers. We say, all right, what do you know? All right, show it to me. Actually, no, the first question we ask is, did you pray? You didn't pray? Boy, put your flag down. We don't have hands, by the way. If my hands up, I can't. I can't focus. I think honestly, if I could shout out every teacher, every person out there, stop doing the flags. Work out a way, an and-on system. I think that's what they call it. Have a red flag when they need help. Have a green flag when they good. You know what I'm saying? They do it at the Brazilian restaurants when you want them to stop bringing you some food, right?
That's right.
So that's you, right. And you ain't got to worry about. Excuse me, sir. Wait, no, stop. Let them kids learn. I mean, take the tech away from them until they know how to use it. If they can't spell, then don't let Google and Siri fix it for you. Learn that first. You gotta learn how to spell. I tell all the parents that I work with, I said, if your kid, look, I tell the kids, I'm gonna tell your parents, don't give you no allowance, no money. Why? Because you can't count. If you can't count, you're gonna get took. You're gonna get took advantage of. You're not gonna know that Clarence is your very best friend in the store. Y'all know him as Clarence. But, Clarence is my guy. You know what I'm saying? I go find Clarence, and me and him always work out deals. I go to God's Will. You know what is Goodwill. But I went to God's Will and found some very nice, very, very nice. You know what I'm saying? I consult on, if you want to look good, you ain't got to spend $4,000 to do it. You can get you a Joseph A. Bank suit for $9.93 after tax. Go ahead and round it up to $1. Help out the next person. Why not? You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Another thing I like to do too is with the company, with the consulting. I mean, here's the thing. You see, the FLICSME actually stands for Freelance Ideal Consulting Services. So we try to find the ideal things that you're going to need, the things that are going to help you the best, the quickest, the fastest. What's ideal? You may not need everything. Even the Bible says all things are lawful, not all things are expedient. You don't have to do everything. It's just do this. I tell people that if you're gonna trust me before you trust God, then something's wrong. So I open up a meeting with prayer. Lord, I don't want to make no mistakes. I want to help these folks. And if I can't help them, Lord, help me to help them find somebody who can. That's sometimes worth money. And so so here's the thing, little crazy story. So I help people sell things on Facebook Marketplace. It's so you didn't know how to do it. You was about to give it away, throw it away. I said, here, let me see it. Let me see what I can do with it. Just like, like God can do things in the potter, in the master's hands, he can do anything. So I'll say, let me see what I can do with it. So I'll put it on there, and I have, things you talked about charging too much or not enough. I mark up everything 100, sometimes 150% on purpose of what they want. I said, what do you want for it? Oh, just give me this. Just that? Okay. and then I'll go do some research, and I'll literally do a swan dive with a half gainer. You remember the old Tomb Raider video game where you jump off the cliff, and you get to do something really cool, and then right into that process, and then I find it, and then I'll put it up there, make some pictures, have a nice little, I'll build a nice little narrative, a story. I said, can't you see yourself riding down the street on this bike? You know what I'm saying? I paint pictures with words. If I'm in person, I'll give you sound effects. Oh, you there? You there? I'm the 4K experience. You know what I'm saying? I'm all there. I'm the real D. So I'll tell them this is how we do it, and then I'll go to, and I've sold it, but in the last couple of weeks, I've actually profited. I've made them everything they wanted and profited almost. I'm not trying to brag, but it's been over $1,000 just selling random things on Facebook that aren't even mine.
Right?
They're not mine. It's theirs, and they were sometimes going to give it away. Now, while I'm doing this, and this happened last night, I'm getting all these people. That's too much. Oh, no. I said, well, it depends on who it is. I said, if this is the last one on earth, then what would it be worth? I'll joke with them. I'll say, look, I said, to the right person, I said, this could be the exact thing that they lost when they were, when they had to give this up when they first had their kid. They pawned this to buy an engagement ring to marry their wife. I said, this could be a way for them to get it back. You don't know that. I said, the value, I said, I know who owned it. I said, that's the thing. That's the thing. You have to know who owns you. Who's the one holding you? Who's that person takes care of you? You're worth a lot more.
That's true.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to drop a couple gems because
No, you're spot on, man. Because that and going back to what we were talking about in the beginning, what I was talking about before you came on with as it relates to fear, right? That piece in terms of, hey, I just want this, or I'm just going to give it away. Sometimes it's our way of not having to really step into the unknown. I don't know.
Nobody wants to have a garage sale because they think about, I was going to take, I got to put signs up and I got to do this. If I really want, I can't just leave the stuff out front because then the garbage man will take it, and then people are still, it's the process.
Right.
So, I mean, honestly, what happened was somebody was actually trying to, negotiate with me. He was like, yeah. And so it almost sounded, if I could read the comments to you, it would be weird. It almost sounded like confrontation. He was like, dude, you're asking too much for this and this and that. I was like, yeah. I said, but this is vintage, man. It's actually labeled vintage. I said, I showed him the way. He was like, well, I got an 85, and he gave his bike, and it actually is an older one. And I looked it up, and it was a tariff bike. It's actually made when the process, so it's actually bike is honestly more rare. And so I just like, dude, fist bump. I put a little text, and I said, man, fist bump, enough respect. I said, is this your bike? So I actually queried the bike, found it, sent a picture of it back. This is all a Facebook marketplace transaction. Mm-hmm. So my transactions are wonderful because they're interactive. I'm telling jokes. So I show him a picture of this bike. He's like, dude, that's exactly my bike. And that's even the same color. How did I find that? I don't know. Maybe the Lord was helping me with this. But in the end, I showed him this. And he was like, dude, I was like, so let me ask you a question. Now that since mine's too expensive for what you're trying to do, I said, why are you trying to get rid of yours? What's wrong with yours? He was like, well, I need a couple parts and I can't find them. I was like, I had actually, my consulting company, we're building a sourcing department, actually working with a couple of government contracts and stuff like that. So we're able to, again, leverage some really cool tools that when used properly can find you within 3 touches, about 85 to 95% of what you're looking for. And so what I did was, he was like, yeah, I was like, you know what? I said, dude, that's not, so you need he says, I need a rectifier. And then he said he needed a straighter. And I was like, a straighter? And I typed in straighter, and it's actually a spelling error, starter. So I already figured that out. So I figured out starter. And then he was like, yeah, and if I could find a wire harness, man. So I found two of the items new, which are almost hard to do, because I sourced Canada, Mexico, and US. And then I was querying also outside the United States. And then the wiring harness can be built, but it would have to be specially built by Honda. Now I said, I could actually query that for you, but that would cost you more. And he was laughing. I was like, no, I'm serious. And so I said, so here's the deal. I'll give you one of the items, because I found everything you need for $275 to $300. If you paid me that right now, I could get it sourced and sent to your home. I said, or you can pay me $50 and I'll give you all of the, I'll give you the rest of the information, because now I know where it is. And he's sending me the VIN number. I said, yep, VIN number checks out all these parts. And I said, you'll be surprised where 2 of them are, and you never thought to look for them. And so I gave him the most expensive one. No, I gave him the most expensive one, and then I charged him $50 for the ones you can get at Walmart and Amazon.
Mm.
and so he got the so in the process of trying to sell this bike, I made $50 for some
Okay.
information. So there's a
That's
whole
good.
market because I'm doing things that people can't do. I'm selling it, I'm finding you parts, and so now he's built value. He's like, now I don't have to sell my bike, or now I don't have to give my bike away. I can, or trade my bike in. This dude just showed me how I can. He actually texted me. He was like, dude, as soon as I get everything running, dude, I'm riding down there so I could thank you personally. I was like, dude, it's not even my bike. I'll be honest with you, it's my big brother's. I said, we go to the same church. You can come visit us there. He said, and that's how I do it. I'll invite everybody who's meeting me for Facebook Marketplace at my church. Come on by. Because first of all, if you're gonna try and treat me at God's house, feel free, try. Have him tear up everything that you own because you mess with one of his own. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where my company is leading. You know what I'm saying? I wind up helping people mainly for free because Flix Me actually is God gave it to me. It sounds like Fix Me, but I usually relate to people with movies. You know what I'm saying? I say I really can't. I've never been to everybody's school, and I didn't, learn the language. I know some languages. I learned a little bit of French. My wife is German, so I know a little bit of French. But I was actually a trained vocalist as well. A lot of people don't know that, but I sing. I was actually, went to school and learned it, so I do train choirs and individual voices. I do have voice students that I do that as well on the side to help them out. And I do voiceover, so I'm a voice actor as well. So I do a couple of things. I've done some commercials here for the jazz station here, done some animated shorts and stuff like that with Deadheads. It's an NFT company that's actually building a pretty decent community. Some of my sister's involved in. She's cool. So a lot of cool stuff that doing all of this, but I'm still a principal. That's my job. That's what I do. But if my goal is to work my way up, build this business to the point where my services to the school are free. I want to take my entire salary, if I can, and turn it into a scholarship fund for the students. I would literally do it. Man, because I learned so much from these kids, man. I learned why they struggle. I learned why life is getting hard sometimes. I learned how to teach them and make them better, help them. The ones that literally the system threw away, that nobody wanted to help or couldn't help, or labeled them this. And I hate this IEP program thing that seems negative. Everybody should have an IEP program, which is an individual learning plan or program. I have a group one that I'm doing with everybody, but I have an individual one too. And that one includes this and this and this and this and that. My individual plan includes the Bible, because there's a lot of things, if it don't mash up or even if it doesn't filter through that, I can't use it. It's not really that good for me, just being honest. And so I'm still learning how to promote that with more things, but Proverbs is just deep. You can learn a ton about finances in there. It's huge. So, Joseph is one of the greatest financial gurus in the world. He went from a slave to running everything. So that's kind of, when you learn from people like that, and this Solomon's the wisest dude in the world ever, so when it comes down to learning from the people who know the most, there's nobody knows more than him. So whatever you do, if you don't trust him or trust, something higher than you to guide you, you're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes. I tell them, here's another thing, and I'll leave this for everybody. Try your best. And this is hard to do. You can't guarantee or promise anything. You can't, even if you do. The 63% of the people that actually believe it actually is a guarantee and a warranty or whatever, most of those warranties wear out. They right as it breaks, and that's usually the warranty limit. You're guaranteed for this amount of time, but you can't promise anything, because if you did everything in your power and God still says no, it ain't happening. I don't want it to happen. What you gonna tell your customer? So you let them know, hey, I will do everything within my power, and I will reach out to every source that I have. I will dig with my bare hands until there's bloody nubs to find a way to make this happen. But if it cannot, I cannot promise that my efforts will be enough. I can't promise that. Now, if you want to assist me in a way, let's do that.
You're talking
that's
about
why
service.
Yeah.
I was saying, you're talking about service. You're talking about the level of service that is necessary to not only to push you forward, but the level of service that makes it evident that you are 100% concerned about the people that you interact with. And often as entrepreneurs, that's something that we don't pay a lot of attention to.
But nobody wants to pay for that. That's the
Nobody,
hard part.
right, right.
Because they think of it as your duty, and it's like it's everybody's, shall I say, duty to be decent. But it's not. I mean, I just was built with the gift of helps. Like I don't. There's people that I've helped, that people are like, why are you helping them? I said, because they need help. That's it. It's not because, I would honestly, if I wouldn't do it for free, then why would I charge for it?
That's good. I love it. And listen, guys, those of you who are listening, if you and Season said resourcing and connecting, so good. Many of her prayer requests are being answered. That's awesome. Uh, David Hunt said that's awesome. Individual learning program. We should all have one as individuals and as
Yes.
entrepreneurs. You should be
Please
thinking
stop
about,
stigmatizing that, please.
yes, you should be thinking about service. You should be thinking about growth. You should be thinking about, and not just for yourself, but for the folk that you come in contact with, which is awesome. You guys are hearing Lance. You're hearing that he's a wealth of information. You're hearing that he's a conglomerate of experiences, and this guy is also part of this fellowship, this Love Entrepreneurs Fellowship,
Yeah.
which is a business fellowship that is designed to help ordinary people build extraordinary businesses. And there's
Yeah.
one particular way that they do this, and it is called the Big Fix. The Big
Yeah.
Fix is essentially a, think about it like this: the Big Fix is a mastermind of sorts where you get to come in, share your journey up until this point, share your vision, share any pain points that you have around building your business. And there will be a group of individuals like Lance, like myself, like some of the other people that you've seen in the other episodes, that will literally do what Lance is doing right now: pour into you, give you information, give you ideas, help you to see some things clearly and see some things differently. And Lance, We're going to talk a little bit about just to wrap it up, how we can get a hold of you, and you've already been dropping knowledge, but there's some specific things that I may ask of you to share with our audience. But before that, I want to share a testimonial around the Big Fix, because I really want individuals to understand that this kind of knowledge, these kinds of conversations that are happening on the Life of an Entrepreneur, are conversations that are happening every week in this fellowship. So we're going to take a moment to hear from my friend Sarah Mills, and then we'll be back to wrap it up.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Mills, and I've been an entrepreneur since 2010. I'm the vegan healthy living business mentor, helping people thrive in business and life with super sexy, award-winning products, programs, and communities globally. The Big Fix is a fantastic platform to share your business vision with like-minded entrepreneurs who have already walked in your shoes and are so willing to support and inspire and cheer your journey and success every step of the way. To see people transforming with new ideas and new commitment is magic. I know the obstacles faced by entrepreneurs is the same wherever we are in the world. Love Entrepreneurs connects people nationally and now internationally to thrive together.
That was Sarah Mills talking about the Big Fix. Listen, what I did not mention is that to go through this process, the Big Fix, to sit down with a group of professionals, with a group of entrepreneurs, with a group of individuals who are genuinely concerned and genuinely interested in seeing you thrive, is free. Yes, that's what I said. It is free. So if you want to experience this, or if you're not sure you want to experience it, but you want to come and watch and be a part of it and contribute, reach out to me. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to me on any of the platforms that you are watching this on, or you can reach out to me by shooting me an email. And my email is oliver@denali.org. Reach out to me. Those of you who are watching on LinkedIn, you can hit me up there. Those who are watching me on YouTube, same thing, and on Facebook as well. Make sure that you become a part of this. It is a phenomenal place to be. I've met so many great individuals. I've learned so much. I've grown in many areas, not just in business, but as a person as well. So make sure that you are part of this experience called the Big Fix. So listen, Lance, man,
I wanted to say one good thing about the Big Fix, man.
Absolutely.
Even what you said is, man, it's just it's like tiptoeing on it, man. Let's get one huge statement. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Let's do it.
Imagine Shark Tank without the sharks having a hidden agenda. Let's go with that. Nothing against it, but
that's good.
We want this to be something that's awesome for you. Right? If you choose to do something with somebody who's in that group later on, awesome. I mean, you'll get all of our information to connect with us, but for that Big Fix, and it's included. I mean, that actually comes up with a actual itemized, documented process. Documentation of everything that everybody talked about and how they can help, and then a system that maybe even can help work those things out. Man, that's value. That's value. That's literally your business going through a boot camp, you getting ripped down to nothingness and then built back up stronger, faster, all that.
David Hunt said there's so much shared here. It sounds like a great opportunity. It is indeed a great opportunity. And, obviously I'm going to continue to push this. Love Entrepreneurs is the sponsor for this show every week. But I want to say this, sponsor or not, I went through the Big Fix. And I love what you said, Lance, that it is like Shark Tank without the agenda. I went through the Big Fix. I sat in the hot seat for 2 days in a row. The first day we talked about what I do with relationship building and men's empowerment. The second day we talked about what I'm doing with video production, podcasting, and voiceovers. Right. The report that I got, I couldn't digest it in a day, because in those 2 days I walked away with so much energy, with so many ideas, with so many avenues and angles that I hadn't even looked at. Like, man, I didn't even know that could be an angle. Never even thought about that being an angle in terms of how I approach this, in terms of how I can multiply my level of service, in terms of how I can create and leave legacy, in terms of how I can build and scale and grow. And so you just,
man, that's
you
awesome.
just
As
can't.
soon as you hit him, that's there.
Yeah, you can't, and it's free. That's the thing that's crazy. And here's the thing. I love that you said there's no agenda, right? Here's the thing. They are, and this is what I said last week. They're willing. Now, I've been in situations where people are not willing to give information. I can tell you story after story after story where I've sat down with an entrepreneur, asked a question, and they were like, you're just gonna have to, it's lived experience. You're just gonna have to do that. Or the other side of the spectrum, hey, listen, I can give you that information, but it's gonna cost you, $1,000 an hour, which I'm not knocking them for charging for their information, but very seldom do you run across a group of individuals. You may find pockets of people here and there that you have great connections with.
Do it in their spare time. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Everybody who sits at this table is sitting at this table with the exact same thing in mind, which is, I'm going to give what I have to whoever this person is that's sitting in the hot seat. So I think that that's a phenomenal place to be in. So if you want to be a part of that, just let us know. You can sit in to experience it before you get in the hot seat, and then jump in the hot seat. And, obviously there are some things that you can explore after you go through this process, but get in there, get the value that obviously people like Lance, you heard Lance's story and what he had to say. So get in there and get the value of what Love Entrepreneurs can do. Listen, Lance, before we get out of here, I know you've given a lot of information.
Yeah.
I want you to share, if you were meeting an entrepreneur for the very first time and they asked you to give them one piece of information and you only had this opportunity, one piece of information that would steer them in the direction of the kind of ideology that you exhibit, what would you say to that person?
Oh man. Okay. So this was actually a good one. I'm actually prepared for this one. All right. So here's exactly what I would say. And this is the cool thing. You need to have a MacGyver mindset. You need to have a MacGyver mindset. So, and that's actually, and I have an acronym for MacGyver. Everybody knows who MacGyver is. He can fix anything, make anything. He can never get stuck in any situation. M for MacGyver stands for mindful observation. I got to be mindful of what's around me, what I have, what I don't have. What are my supplies? Count them. Remember, there's one scene where he says, I need you to tell me everything. He helps this lady fix a problem, and she's underwater, and he's trying to talk her through it. And he says, I need you to give me an inventory. He says, 5 paper clips is not 6. I need to know exactly what's in the room. And so if you don't have mindful observation, you're not going to be able to do that. So have a MacGyver mindset. Assess the situation. What is happening? Slow it down. What is happening that's within your control? That's not within your control. Those are the 2 things you don't need to worry about. Don't worry about, this is happening. You like the Flash movie and everything, and he has to save all the babies, and you're trying. No, it's simpler than that. It's what can I control? What can I control? Next is creativity unleashed. What can I do with what I know or who I've hired? How can I do it? How can I do it? Who can do it? If I can't do it, who can do it? Let's do it. Let's get creative. And sometimes the most creative solution you can have is hire a consultant. That's thinking out of the box. Hire somebody to help you. I mean, don't be afraid to ask for help. That's nothing. So G is gather resources. Whatever you have, get it together so you're not running around wasting your steps. Bring it all to one place. Bring it all to one location so you can work in one place and not run around like a chicken with your head cut off. Yield to flexibility. You have to be flexible because some things are going to break. They're going to happen. And when that happens, what are you going to do? Like, remember the time's ticking, hot shot. What are you going to do? From Speed, it's like, so you have to know. So yield to flexibility. And another one, validate and refine. See what works and start to refine that. Validate it. And, like I said, proof of concept. I like to try and get proof of concept ASAP. This is a process we live by. We prefer to fix problems in real time. What do you got to fix it? Let's fix it now. Why? Because I don't want this on my head bothering me. I don't want to lose sleep over it helping you when I can fix this right now. You can fix it right now, and then you can sleep, and your family can have a better relationship, and you can have this all figured out. This is what we need to do. So validate and refine, execute with confidence. Once you figure out what you're going to do it. Don't half step. Don't toe it in. You know what I'm saying? Water cold? Yeah, it's cold. It's supposed to be cold. Water ain't, it didn't come out of faucet. It's supposed to be cold. So don't dip your toe in. Realize it's only going to be cold for as long as I allow it to be cold. That's it. It's only cold as long as I allow it to be cold. All right. And then, of course, execute. That's what execute time to jump in. I mean, be confident with it. You get to be either. Remember Yoda. He says, there is no try. Do or do not. Do it or don't do it. The last one, reflect and learn. And that's why I became a principal. I love it. That's the R for reflect and learn. You got to reflect. Go back. Now that you through it, it's kind of like they went through the rapids, that's the worst. And then you look back and you see, man, we did that. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes you're going through it so much, you don't have time to look back and see what you did, which is actually pretty awesome. It's pretty amazing. And you'd be surprised how much you can impress your low down self. You were like, wow, thank the Lord I was given the opportunity. I didn't know. I didn't. Sometimes the people do human feats of strength. I didn't know we could do it until it's done.
Yeah.
So don't quit. Be a MacGyver. You know what I'm saying? He had a pocket knife. That's what's up. Keep that.
Yeah.
I have a pocket knife. I got a Swiss Army knife right here. So let's keep that up. Be a MacGyver.
That's awesome.
Do that. That's it. That's all I got.
Those of you who are listening to this right now, you're gonna have to go back, rewind this when it's done, and take those down. Right? That acronym for MacGyver is fantastic, and that's a mic drop moment. So if you're looking to grow, if you're looking to grow in this space, if you're looking to matriculate in this life called an entrepreneur, the life of an entrepreneur, or if you're thinking about jumping into the space, or if you're not thinking about jumping into the space, but you just want to be a great person, all of those things apply to you being a great person. Now, listen, I think I lost Lance on video, but when he comes back, we're gonna see how we can get a hold of him, how we can get in touch with him. If you're on LinkedIn, he is on LinkedIn, so make sure that you are connecting with him on LinkedIn. And we're about to wrap this thing up.
Man,
Lance,
we ran into a battery issue, man. Yeah, Lance.Bennett, LANCE.BENNETT at flixme.com, where you guys can check me out on Facebook. I'm not really on Facebook as much. I mean, I'm working on Facebook. I ain't out there socializing. I'm sorry. I talk to people in person. I do business. But yeah, every now. But no, LinkedIn is probably the best place to reach me. And also, I also have a couple of blogs that are really cool to check out. Check out my edutainment center page on our website. That's something new. Everybody's into the edutainment, and so I let people know you can learn by doing a lot of cool, fun things. So let's continue to learn. And honestly, sometimes learning can help you make a lot of money. So let's do that, and don't undercharge for your services. You're valuable, and so is what's up here, and so is what's in here. Let's make sure you have him in there. So thank you, sir. I appreciate this opportunity.
Man, thank you, man. Stick around just for a second. I'm going to put you in the back. Stick around for a second so I just can say something to you at the end. But thank you so much for being here. This is Lance Bennett. Fantastic story, inspirational, educational, man. We'll talk in just a moment. Listen, so there's nothing else to be said. You heard the MacGyver method. You've heard all the things that Lance has talked about. We talked about things that fall under the umbrella of legacy, that fall under the umbrella of perseverance, that fall under the umbrella of looking at ways that we can be of service, of real value to the folk that are a part of us. And you see Caleb put the website up there. Thank you, Caleb, for doing that. We also talked about in the beginning about fear. And we cannot let the false evidence appear real in our scenarios, whether it be entrepreneurship or life in general. Season says, thanks, Lance. Thank you for that. Yeah, Lance was a powerful a piece of information. I appreciate you, Season. Me as well. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So listen, as we get out of here, because we're going to get out of here, we're going to wrap this up. Remember that this is a journey. And remember that on this journey, there are various things that are going to be aligned to your journey. Some of them you may not necessarily welcome. Some of them you may. However, they are all part of the life of an entrepreneur. Make sure that you join us every week at this same time for another episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. Remember, don't let fear cripple you. Don't let fear take away your future. We'll see you next time.